Hello everybody, how you all doing today? Spiral Gamer here, coming at you all with another Magic the Gathering deck profile for another TCG Sundays deck profile. And this is going to be a Magic the Gathering deck profile of, as I previously mentioned on my Borrow's Burn deck profile, I mentioned I was going to be doing a Mono Red Burn deck profile. And here it is, this is going to be my Mono Red Modern Burn deck profile at the time this video is first being recorded, it's actually around near the late time of July, so I'm going to say July 25th, maybe? Alright, we'll go with that just for right now. This is just a pure burn deck right here as such. While I have always liked to play a good red and white deck, as you guys know, I am a more red lover. Red is my favorite color right here as such, and which is one of the reasons why I love dragons so much. But which is one of the reasons why I play red, because of dragons, all that, etc., etc. And I never really constructed a proper, at least in my perspective, a proper mono red burn deck up till very recently. I took this deck in my recent locals as of late, and so far the record of this deck is actually not too bad, actually. Now, there is room for improvements, of course, and the deck is definitely not at its best right here, but it definitely does have some potential here and there, and I'm really looking forward to what ideas I'll definitely be working on this deck right here. And yeah, with that being said, I'll get on straight right to the deck profile, and I'll explain my tech choices here and there, and of course some of the choices here and there, just so you all can get a better understanding of what my goal deck right here is such. For those of you all who are just here at Net Deck, I did leave the deck list in the description down below for those of you all who are just here at Net Deck. I only ask you drop a like on your way out, it means a lot to me, it's very appreciative. And with that being said, let's move on straight into the deck profile right now, shall we? Alright, so this is a modern mono red burn deck. So obviously, as we all know, the goal of mono red burn is obviously burn out your opponent's life as much as you possibly can, and go for direct damage and strike while they're strike first, ask questions later, etc. Such. So we all get the basic ideas what mono red is going to be. Now, normally most deck profiles, I normally like to start with the creatures first, then the instant sorceries. But since this is mono red burn and instant sorceries normally do the work more than creatures, surprisingly, we'll do the instant sorceries first before we move on to creatures. So for the instant sorceries, start off with, of course, 4 lightning bolts. It's Lightning Bolt in Modern. If you've been playing Magic the Gathering for as long as you've been, for at least a few years now, we all know why Lightning Bolt is in deck 4, especially this is Modern Red, of course. So 4 Lightning Bolts, and then 4 copies of Lava Spike. I'm not really the biggest fan that it is a sorcery, which is very unfortunately, but for 1 red, it does burn 3 damage to your opponent, and so yeah, that is what we're looking for right here. And this is Mono Red Bird, so of course we're going to use a Lava Spike to spike out your opponent's life. And if we really do want to take out the creatures, worst case scenario, we do have a creature that can utilize this the best we possibly can, along with Lightning Bolt as well. So, which I'll show you in the creature lineup as well. So, Lava Spike is still really great regardless. Again, like I said, I wish it took out creatures as well, along with players like. But again, we do have a creature to help us make up for that. So, it's still really great, especially this is mono red, of course. And then I'm messing around with 4 copies of a card that not too many people are really big fans of, which I can definitely understand because this card is definitely not at its best when it's not in a proper deck, shall we say. But this is just something I've been currently messing around with. It's actually not too bad so far. But again, I do understand why people don't play this card in their mono red burn decks. And as much as I hate to admit, I have actually pondered about potentially taking this card out. And that is 4 copies of Dragonic Burn. Because, spoiler alert, I am actually taking in Thunderbreak Regent in this deck right here. Dragonic Roar is really nice because I can burn 3 damage to a target creature. And if I conveniently have Thunderbreak in my hand or on the board, I can instantly do 3 damage to my opponent's face as well, which is really good right here. Now, it's mostly in there to take out the creatures because you do want to reserve your other burn spells for obviously burning your opponent as well. But if you don't ever get to burn by having Thunderbreak, it's not the end of the world. You're usually going to use this card to burn out the creatures instead usually. But if you do have Thunderbreak on the board or in your hand when you activate this card at your opponent, it becomes a handful very fast, very quickly, especially when you're using this card to take out a creature and a good portion of your opponent's life, and you happen to have 2 creatures in particular, one of the few creatures in particular, which I'll show you all very shortly, going on while you have this card going on. So this card can see some very nice power plays from there on and such. Next up, we play 4 copies of Skullcrack. Skullcrack is just nice because not only does 3 damage to opponent's face, but it's also a good out though to my opponent when they're trying to play card effects that help them to replenish their life or protect their life, and Skullcrack can just come on over and say, no bro, you're going to take the damage whether you like it or not, and on top of that, you're going to take 3 in the face for no reason, because I said so. So Skullcrack is just really nice for those types of scenarios right there. I would play 3 copies of this card, but I didn't really have enough room, so for right now at the moment, we are playing only 2 copies of Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike is just a good generic, 1 red, 1 colors to burn 3 to target creature player. Nothing really too special, it's just a good card in general. I have thought about taking this card out for 2 copies of either Incinerate or 2 copies, what's this other card I'm thinking about calling? There's another card I kind of like as well. I think it's called Thunderbolt, Thunderstrike. Thunderbolt, yeah, it's still called Thunderbolt. I have thought about taking this card out for either Thunderbolt or Incinerate. Thunderbolt just in case if I run into flyers, and Incinerate just so I can prevent things like regeneration, all that etc. Such. I like this card over Incinerate Flow because I'm trying to limit down as much sorceries as much I possibly can. Yeah, I'm playing Lava Spike and another sorcery coming very shortly. I'll show you all very shortly. But yeah, I'm trying to mellow down on sorceries because I'd rather have instant speed over sorcerer speed. So Lightning Bolt just seems like a better choice than Incinerate Flow. But once I pick up extra copies of Incinerate or extra copies of Thunderbolt, I will definitely take these cards out for the cards I have just mentioned here. So for right now, at the moment, the 2 Lightning Strikes seems to be just fine right there. And then next up, we have 2 copies of a card I'm really digging right about now, and that is Flames of the Blood Hand. It's pretty much similar to Skullcrack, only except it does 4 damage instead, which is why I'm only playing 2 of this. But the real reason why I'm playing 2 of this card is because it does require quite a bit of mana to use it, but it's very worth it once you drop this card right here. Not only it's 4 damage to your opponent's face right there, but just like Skullcrack, it's a card that pretty much prevents life gain for the turn at least, and what's really nice about this card right here is that damage of this card cannot be prevented. So it's 4 damage to the opponent's face, no matter what your opponent does. Now, I believe, if my rule is correct, don't take my word for it, I believe they can negate it with like a counterspell or whatever such, but I'm not too sure. Don't take my word for it. Again, I'm kind of really newish to Magic, so don't take my word for any of the stuff I say right here. So, but regardless, it's still a really great card in general. And the last card for the sorceries and instants, we're playing 2 copies of Collective Defiance. This card is just really fun in this deck right here. It has 3 choices when you play this card right here, but you can tap an additional additional mana in order to be allowed to use another additional choice. So usually it's 2 red, 1 colorless, but if you tap additional colorless to use one of the other additional choices as well, you can either make target player discard his or her hand and then draw that same amount of cards. You can either do 4 damage to a creature or 3 damage to your opponent's face. I think it was 3 damage. Yeah, 3 damage to your opponent's face. But so what I typically do with this card right here is I would normally use it to do the damage, obviously. So I would usually tap 4 mana total, so I could burn 4 damage to a creature and then 3 damage to my opponent's face right out the bat. So yeah, really good exchange right there. I haven't really used the discard ability yet, the discard cards and then draw that many cards just yet. I'm not really too sure how good that ability is. It's definitely very good if your opponent's playing a deck that happens to play certain cards where they add certain cards from the deck to their hand, especially if they're key iconic cards that they really need for that specific deck right here. So it's definitely a good ability to have close near you in case you happen to conveniently run into something like that. But regardless, it's just something I don't really too often, but I do like it that I have the option to use it if I ever need to. And worst case scenario, you can always still use the burn 4 to a creature and burn 3 to your opponent's face. And that's it for the instant sorceries. Now for the creatures. This is mono red burn, so of course you're going to see this bad boy right here. We're going to play 4 copies of Guttersnipe. Every time you play an instant or sorcery, that's free that is a free 2 damage to your opponent's face right here. Can't say anything else about this card right here. And when I first got into Magic and heard this card was not a legendary, meaning that you can have at least two of these guys board together. Let's say you have at least 2 of these guys board together. Every time you play an instant or sorcery, your opponent, again, assuming you have at least 2 of these guys on board, your opponent is taking 4 damage to the face. 4 free. Yeah, that is definitely a very handful right there. And if your opponent does not do something about the Guttersnipe very fast, they're going to have a really bad day very quickly. And you remember earlier how I was talking about how Lava Spike kind of isn't the greatest because it doesn't target creatures? Well, here's a creature I was talking about earlier that can help Lava Spike make up for that. And that is 4 copies of Fire Dancer. Fire Dancer, for those of you who do not know what Fire Dancer does, Fire Dancer is a creature that one creature that only requires 1 red and 1 of any color. His ability reads specifically, whenever you cast, I believe a sorcery or instant, instant or sorcery spell, whenever an instant or sorcery spell you control deals damage to an opponent, you can deal exactly that much damage to an opponent's creature right out the bat. So remember that Lava Spike we were talking about earlier, how it does 3 damage to opponent right there? Guess what? Not only Lava Spike is going to still do the 3 damage to your opponent as it was originally intended, but thanks to this guy's ability, that Lava Spike is also going to deal 3 damage to one of your opponent's creatures as well. Your lightning, and not only goes really well with Lava Spike, it goes well with any of your burn spells that happen to conveniently allow you to burn your opponent's life, or you're going to burn your opponent's life. Burns with that burn spell. Lightning Bolt, Lava Spike, Skullcrack, Dragonic Roar. Oh my god, this card combos all with Dragonic Roar so nicely. Because, say your opponent has a 6/6, right? You activate Dragonic Roar while you have Thunderbreak Regent in your hand, right? Activate Dragonic Roar while you have a Fire Dance in the field. Reveal Thunderbreak Regent. Dragonic Roar is going to deal 3 damage to that 6/6. Then, since you reveal Thunderbreak, you're also going to deal 3 damage to your opponent's face. Guess what? Your Dragonic Roar deals 3 damage to your opponent's face. Fire Dancer goes off. Dash an additional 3 damage to another creature of your choice. And who we're going to target? That exactly. The same 6/6 that we targeted earlier from our original Dragonic Roar. Boom. That's 6 damage. Boom. We just killed off that 6/6 right there by just using this card right here and 1 instant spell that only costs 2 mana, and that's it. So it is a 1/1, so it can be taken out very easily. But when you play this card right, he can become a handful very fast, very quickly. Next up, we play 4 copies of Kill King. Kill King is not a bad card in general. 1 red, 1 colorless for 1/2, which is not bad. But what I really love about this guy right here is that so while he's on the field until end of turn, whenever you play instant or sorcery, this card gains +3/+0 until end of turn. So if you play at least 2 instants and or sorceries during your turn, guess what? This bad boy right here is going to become a 7/2 right out of the bat. And that's only assuming you only play 2 instants and or sorceries. So if you're playing instants and or sorceries, if you're forced to burn out your opponent's creatures because your opponent's got something going on you don't like, no problem. Guess what? Every time you use an instant or you're forced to use an instant or sorcery to burn out opponent's creatures or such, this guy's gonna make up for it by gaining 3 power till end of turn for every time instant sorcery is being played. So let's say you were able to successfully clear out your opponent's board, and you play, let's say for example you play 3 instant sorceries as of late. Guess what? This card, unless your opponent's got something else in response or anything such, this card is gonna be swinging at your opponent with 10 power total. So this guy can be very big, very fast, and he can definitely go in there for massive, huge damage when you play him right. And I really like this card as of late. Next up, we play 2 copies of Chandra, Kaladesh. I apologize if I botched up that last part of the name wrong. This is not a bad card in general. Now, the burning ability isn't really the greatest, surprisingly. But what makes her so good is what she does to make up for the so-called lack of burning. She's 2 red, 1 colorless, 2/2, a legendary creature, which is why we're only playing 2 of her. What she does is every time whenever a red spell you cast dealt damage to an opponent. Whenever I cast a red spell, it's been a while since I looked at that card, Whenever you cast a red spell, you may automatically untap her. Any time during your turn, during your main phase, you can tap her to burn 1 damage to your opponent's face. And as we all know, we are playing a lot into the sorceries. So what's really good about her is that you can literally when she's burn trees by her ability, you can turn her into her planeswalker form, which I'll show you all very shortly. And there are some nice combos where you can utilize her very quickly, very fast. say you have 2 Lava Spikes. So before you play Lava Spike, first use her ability, tap her, do 1 damage to your opponent, then cast Lava Spike, 3 damage, her ability goes off, untap her, then use her second ability again, tap her, do 1 damage, play your second Lava Spike, another 3 damage, then use her ability goes off, she gets untapped again, then you declare use her ability again, that's 3 damage by her ability alone, and once that's done, you can immediately transform her into her Planeswalker form, which is this right here, which will allow her to get, you can +1 her to do 2 damage to your opponent's life, you can -2 her to deal 2 damage to a creature, and you can -7 her to deal 6 damage to your opponent, and they'll get Emblem of during their upkeep, they'll take an automatic 3 damage. So this card can definitely stack up very nicely. If you do your combos right, even if you don't utilize her Planeswalker ability at least, if you do your combos right, that's at least 3 damage right off her bat, and then into her Planeswalker, boom, that's 5 damage right off the bat in just 1 turn of her, plus whatever additional cards you additionally played for this tournament here. So Chandra, Fire Kaladesh can definitely become a very handful very quickly when she is played right. And lastly, for the sorry about that. That's something we're in my camera. My camera's fine. Okay. And last for the creatures, we were playing, as I mentioned from the beginning, we're playing 4 Thunderbreaks. It is mostly in there just for the Dragonic Roar. But if you ever do want to play this card, it's actually not too bad. It's a 4/4 flyer that says whenever this card gets targeted, that's automatic 3 damage to your opponent's face. So it definitely somewhat helps you accomplish what you want, and it forces your opponent to waste up good cards like Path of Exile or etc. Such. And with this deck being a mono red burn, by the time you drop this card right here, your opponent will probably most likely use up a very good portion of their resources to the point where they may not have too many answers to your Thunderbreak when your Thunderbreak is dropped. And when they do conveniently have an answer, that Thunderbreak is going to do its job before it dies. Burn out the last 3 of your opponent's life, and then whatever burn spell or good creature you couldn't conveniently have afterwards. After you use Thunderbreak, you pretty much got game there on such. And yeah, that right there was the deck right here. For the lands, all we're playing for lands right here is just pretty much nothing but 20 mountains. There are some other mountains or other special lands I have thought about playing, but I haven't really got my hands on them just yet. There is one that gives you using the ability to burn 3 to your opponent's face every time you drop a mountain or all such. So I have thought about putting that. I do have some other ideas with other cards I want to play, but for right now, at the moment, I am pretty happy with how the deck profile is right now at the moment. I am happy how the build is, and I'm really pretty happy of how well the deck normally does on a regular daily basis. Now, again, there are some room for improvement. As much as I love Dragonic Roar and Thunderbreak Regent, I have thought about cutting those cards out of the deck. As I said about the Lightning Strike, I have thought about cutting out that card out for either Incinerate or Thunderbolt. But I don't know, maybe within some further test plays, maybe there may be some other things I might change up a little bit with the deck as well. And hopefully the deck will be a lot more effective, a lot more sufficient once I make the proper improvements the deck needs right there. So with that being said, let me know what you all think about this deck profile in the comment section down below. And thank you all again so much for watching this video. And I'll see you all in the next video. And I'm out. Bye. Peace.